Am I the jerk for refusing to give up my inheritance to pay for my sister's wedding? My dad passed away last year after a long illness. It was devastating, but honestly, the last few years of his life were harder than the funeral itself. I, 28 female, was the one who moved back home to take care of him. I handled doctor's appointments, late-night emergencies, bills, and basically ran the house when he couldn't anymore. It was exhausting, but I don't regret it. He and I got very close during that time. My sister, 32 female, on the other hand, lives out of state. She came back twice in the last year of his life, once for Christmas and once for his birthday. I don't think she's a bad person, but she definitely distanced herself from the responsibility. Her excuse was that she had her own life and couldn't just drop everything. I understood at the time, but it still hurt. When Dad passed, his will specifically left me a decent chunk of money. Not millions, but enough that I could pay off my student loans and actually start saving for a house. It was clear in the will that this money was for me because of the sacrifices that I made while caring for him. My sister received other things. He left her some jewelry and a classic car that he had restored that she always loved. But the majority of liquid assets went to me. Fast forward to now, my sister got engaged in May. Her fiancé is nice enough, but they both have champagne tastes on a beer budget. The wedding that they're planning is way out of their price range. Destination, resort, designer dress, open bar, huge guest list. I assumed that they were going into debt for it, which I thought was their choice. But then, about a month ago, my sister sat me down and said, "I need your help. Dad would have wanted you to use some of that inheritance to make my wedding special." She wasn't asking for a small loan. She wanted me to hand over $30,000 to cover the venue and catering. I told her no. I said that Dad left me that money for a reason, and I'm using it to build stability in my life, not to blow it on a party. She immediately got defensive and accused me of being selfish and choosing money over family. Now my mum has gotten involved. She says Dad would have wanted me to share and that family comes first. I told her Dad literally wrote a will that reflected his wishes, and if he wanted to fund my sister's wedding, he would have set aside money for that. Mum keeps saying that I'm tearing the family apart. My sister has been telling relatives that I'm punishing her for not being around when Dad was sick, which makes me feel sick to my stomach because it's kind of true. I am resentful. But it also feels unfair that the person who did all the work gets nothing, and the one who barely showed up gets rewarded. Some cousins are on her side and have texted me things like, "It's just money. You'll make more," and "Your dad would have wanted her to have a special day." Others, thankfully, have said that it's insane she's even asking. Now my sister says she won't invite me to the wedding at all unless I do the right thing. My mum is begging me to reconsider for the sake of peace, but honestly, I can't see myself handing over $30,000 just so my sister can have a fancy Instagram wedding while I put my future on hold. Still, the guilt is eating at me. Am I really the jerk for refusing to share my inheritance with my sister to pay for her wedding? In the comments, Temporary Bench says, "Stand your ground and hold your boundaries. No one needs or is entitled to an extravagant wedding. They chose to plan outside of their budget, they can figure it out. Their request is selfish and rude. Tell her that you're right, family comes first. Dad is family, and respecting his wishes comes first. Don't tell me what Dad would have wanted. I know because he literally wrote it down. Don't ask me to disrespect my dead father's final wishes. You're right. Family comes first. That's why I made sacrifices to be there for Dad when he needed help. You chose to prioritize yourself as you are doing now. I don't owe you anything, and you're not getting a cent from me." Right? She's using family comes first only when it's convenient for her. You're right, family does come first, which is why I moved home and took care of Dad. Mic drop. And if her wedding is so important to her, she can sell her vintage, restored, classic car for the $30,000 that she expects from her sister. OP, Tell her dad already gave her the money for her wedding. She just doesn't want to part with her inheritance when she can keep hers and scam you for yours. Tell your family that she got the money that she needed from dad already. She can sell her share if she is that desperate. I'm so tired of selfish, lazy siblings refusing to do their part and demanding the rewards. Stop feeling guilty. Send her an auto trader and tell her to get cracking. The car ain't selling itself, and you are not giving her money that she already has. Yes, this is perfect. Sister is choosing to have a fancy wedding. If she thinks dad would have wanted her to have it, then she can sell the car and pay for it. He probably didn't give her cash because he knew that she would waste it on something like an overpriced wedding. Why do people think that you should give up a financial safety net so she can play pretty princess for a day? A good marriage doesn't need an expensive wedding. OP, did you have to give up working or work less while you were taking care of your dad? Your sister didn't. And if you did, then you could point out that your dad understood that taking care of him had set you back financially, hence the liquid funds, etc. Look, it's just a heinous request, and it's always the same situation of sending the flying monkeys in that are either misinformed or they're being intentionally obtuse and just don't want to be in the firing line of a psychopath like that sister. She is in the wrong. She should damn well know that she's in the wrong and shouldn't be coming to you for a free loan, a big old handout that she doesn't have to pay back just because she feels entitled to it when she's not. If she was, as everyone else said, he would have stated that in the will. But thank God he had enough sense that he didn't give her a cent. He just gave her the classic car, and he knows that she doesn't want to part herself with that. Seems like she's putting a lot of words into this man's mouth that he would never have uttered. And she knows that she's asking for the impossible, yet she'll do what everyone else does and put pressure on you to get what she wants, OP, but don't do it. Take the advice of the comments and slap some sense into that one. And now, on to the update. I didn't expect to be writing again so soon, but the last couple of days have been a whirlwind. I've cried, I've screamed into pillows, and at one point I just sat in the dark staring at the ceiling, wondering what the hell happened to my family. After my first post, things with my sister kept escalating. She kept sending me guilt-trippy texts, saying things like, "If you really loved me, you'd do this for me," and "You're choosing money over your only sister." I was holding strong, but it still hurt. Then, something came out that I wasn't prepared for. One of my cousins, who's been quietly on my side, told me my sister hasn't exactly been faithful to her fiancé. Oh, it's juicy! At first I didn't believe it. It sounded too wild, too cruel. But then they showed me messages. My sister has been seeing a man from her job for months. A married man. She apparently told my cousin that she's not even sure she wants to marry her fiancé, but she's going through with the wedding anyway because everything's already in motion and she deserves the spotlight after a hard year. I felt like I'd been punched. Not because I care about her fiancé that much, we've never been close, but because it shattered the last bit of moral ground that she had to stand on. She's been calling me selfish, manipulative, greedy, all while living a double life. Here is the part that broke me. My mum knows. She admitted it when I confronted her last night. She said that she'd walked in on my sister late at night whispering on the phone, and when she pushed her, my sister confessed. Mum's exact words to me were, "She just needs to get it out of her system. Once she's married, she'll settle down. Don't ruin this for her." Of course she will. They always do. I don't even know who my mother is anymore. The woman who raised me to believe in honesty and integrity is now telling me to keep quiet while my sister destroys her relationship and another family's marriage, all so that we can have a happy event to cover the grief of losing dad. And here's the kicker. My sister is still hammering me for the money, still saying dad would want me to share, still threatening to cut me out of her life completely. She has no idea that I know what she's doing. Part of me wants to out her. Tell her fiancé, tell the whole damn family, throw the truth like a grenade, and walk away. Another part of me is exhausted. I already spent years holding my dad's hand in hospitals while everyone else lived their lives. Do I really want to take on this burden too? For now, I've decided to step back. I'm not going to her wedding, invite or no invite, I won't be there. I took more of the inheritance and paid down my student loans today, and I cried when I saw my balance shrink. Not out of guilt this time, but relief. Because Dad left me that money so that I could finally breathe. My sister might never forgive me. My mum might never understand me, and maybe I'll be painted as the villain for the rest of my life, but at least I know, deep down, I'm not the one lying to everyone. I just wish Dad was still here. He'd cut through all this noise in 5 seconds flat. In the comments, Special Lychee says, "You can put an end to all the guilt-trippy texts right now. One message to your sister saying, I'm going to honor Dad's wishes. I am absolutely sure he wouldn't want me to hand over what he left for me for a wedding to celebrate a marriage that is already poisoned by infidelity before it even started. Please don't make me take a public stand on why I will not contribute. I wish you a wonderful wedding and a happy marriage. Please get your ducks in a row so that the marriage lasts longer than the wedding planning did. Lots of love, sister." Is it blackmail? Not really. You're not making her do anything that she doesn't want to do. You're just pressuring her to stop doing what you do not want her to do. She doesn't have to go out of her way for you to not out her cheating. She quite literally doesn't have to do anything. Just stop harassing you. 8 a.m. Tea Time says, "She's toxic. Your mum is enabling her behavior. Don't get sucked in any farther to the drama that they are creating. Distance yourself from these two and live a good life. And not a penny to your sister. Your dad did what he did for a reason. Phones only work if you answer the calls and read the texts. Block her and block mum. Anyone who supports a cheating daughter is not worth 2.5 rolls of pennies. If you're glued to your phone, swipe and delete the text without ever reading them. I prefer block them, and now that you can afford it, buy a new phone and get a new number. Selectively give out the new number to who you want. Let the old phone sit on the kitchen counter on silent." Yeah, your mum actively defending the cheating and not saying anything about it, and then kind of just downplaying it and trying to get you to still contribute and saying that, she just needs to get it out of her system. She'll settle down. Now, don't you go ruining this for her. Yuck. Ew. I don't blame you for not knowing who she is anymore because whoever she was back in the past has been murdered and dumped in a lake and replaced with an absolute demon. That is demonic behavior right there. This wedding is not a happy event that covers the grief of losing your dad. This exacerbates the grief. This is disgusting. I applaud you for not going to that wedding. I hope that you deal with this in a way that you see fit. I'm sad that we're not going to know how you deal with this from here on out, but I believe in you, OP. I know you can do it. Thank you for the update. Thank you for the story. Good luck. Our next post is by user Hot Professional, and it's titled, "Am I wrong for divorcing my ex-wife over kids and now refusing to be a part of her son's life?" I want to preface this by saying that I have no intentions of ever getting back with my ex, and I'm in a very happy relationship with my now fiancé. And I'm sorry this is long. I just wanted to add all the context in, and I'm not the best with words. I, 46 male, married my ex-wife, 45 female, when we were 26 and 25 respectively. At that time, we were both on the fence about having kids. I knew since college that I wanted to retire early, and my dream of having financial freedom was what really made me realize that kids don't fit into the life that I wanted. I was trying to find the right time to talk with her about it, but over the next few weeks, she started dropping hints that she wanted kids. She started showing me photos of her friends' kids, commenting on our nieces and nephews, joking about her getting or being pregnant. That one freaked me out, and even bought me a book on the joys of fatherhood that she thought that I'd find interesting. I sat her down and asked her if she wanted kids, and she admitted that over the years she had grown to want a family. We had a conversation about it, and I realized that neither of us was going to change our minds. I didn't want to keep her from what she wanted in life, so I brought up divorce. She really didn't want to divorce and kept trying to get me to want kids, but I stuck to what I wanted, and we ended up separating. I obviously still loved her, but that's why I wanted to divorce. We were still young, and she could find someone to have the family that she wants with. I didn't want her to resent me for forcing my life choices onto her. Even after I filed for divorce, she still didn't agree with me and dragged it out as long as she could, so the divorce took almost 2 years. I dated over the years, but never really found someone that I could see myself sharing the rest of my life with until I met my now fiancé 4 years ago. Apparently, my ex-wife struggled with dating as well and hasn't remarried yet. She has a son, but the kid's dad isn't in the picture. She recently reached out to me and asked if we could meet to catch up. I talked with my fiancé about it, and she thought that it'd be a great way to clear up any bad blood between us, so I agreed to meet up with her for coffee. Things seemed to be going well until she brought up her son. She asked me if I was willing to be a part of his life as a masculine influence, and I told her that I was glad that she was able to have a child, but that it still wasn't something that I was interested in. She tried to change my mind by saying that we could be a family again. She kept trying to convince me, and I kept trying to change the subject. I admit I got frustrated because things weren't going as I hoped they would, and I told her that I was happy with my fiancé's name and that I was not interested in her. She started to insult my fiancé, so I left. I thought what happened was crazy. When I agreed to meet her, it never even occurred to me that she might want to get back together, considering how long it's been, and I'm not single. She kept messaging me, so I blocked her, and I don't plan on talking with her again. I was talking with my sister and her husband about it, and they said that while I'm totally right for rejecting her now, that it was an asshole move on my part to divorce her in the first place, and that I was now being an asshole again by not being a part of her kid's life. They both agreed that my ex was right for wanting to work it out. They said it's my fault that her child doesn't have a father, and that if I had given having kids a chance, I would have changed my mind. I just don't agree that kids are something one should compromise on. I just don't see how it's possible for it to not be a bad situation for everyone involved that breeds resentment. I don't know my ex's child at all, and I don't agree that it's my responsibility to step up just because his bio dad didn't. I asked some of my other friends and family, and they agreed with my sister. So I'm not sure if what I did was wrong or not, and I just wrongly was justifying it to myself. In the comments, Mark Brev says, "How is her situation your fault? You were clear from the start that you didn't want kids. Personally, I don't get that, but this is your life, not mine. You split up and you divorced her over her changing her mind. Yet somehow it's your fault that she got knocked up, hasn't managed to maintain a relationship, and that the kid has no father figure? Your ex, sister, and brother-in-law are all talking out of their asses. Not your monkey, not your circus." OP replies, "And I wasn't exactly clear from the start. We were both unsure about having kids when we got married. We were both starting our careers and thought that we had a lot of time left to decide. It just so happened that when we each made up our minds a few years later, that we came to different decisions. A lot of my family is against divorce. Some of them are against divorce even in extreme cases like abuse, and my sister and brother-in-law think that I'm still responsible for her well-being since I'm the one who forced the divorce when my ex-wife didn't want one. Apparently I'm still connected to her, and therefore I'm connected to her kid too." What a fanciful mindset these people have. They sound culty. Are they? OP says, "My family situation is a bit complicated, but my mum, sister, family friends, and some other family members are a part of a strict church. I'm not saying what it is because it's pretty small, but that's why I think a lot of them are agreeing against me on this. Divorce is kind of a big no-no, and I even stopped talking with a few friends because they refused to acknowledge my divorce, and it was just weird. Although my sister is in church, she has never been all in and almost left multiple times. My brother-in-law is also not in the church, which is a point of contention, but also why I thought the two of them might actually be right and I could be the crazy one. 2 of my friends that I asked are also not in the church, and only one of them agreed with me. Not the asshole. Super confused by all of your family members' reactions. Maybe they adored your ex, or maybe you come from a very family-focused culture and they just lament your divorce. Quote, but her ask is significant and became inappropriate when she asked to be a family again. I don't think it's weird for her to want a man who she was with for almost 2 decades and clearly values to provide some masculine influence if you guys truly are and can be friendly. But the family again part makes it clear that that's not the case. Don't let your family crazy make you. OP replies, we were together for 6 years and married for 2.5 of those, not counting the time that we were separating and in the process of divorcing. It's been almost 16 years since we divorced, and I've been no contact with her for most of that time. Most of my family goes to the same church as my ex, and they are on good terms. And those family members are very against divorce for any reason. They also don't really like my fiancé. They are cordial and mostly respectful to each other, but she thinks my family is crazy, and my family thinks she's a witch for some reason. Oh, OP, I've not the foggiest as to why everyone has those particular beliefs against the other party. Thank you for clearing up some extra information in the comments. You are dealing with some nut jobs. Your ex is a complete nut job, first and foremost, and your family and your peers, you might want to start distancing yourself from them. They've not accepted the divorce for 16 years now. They are not going to accept the divorce, and a lot of this feels like it's because they are constantly in contact with this ex-wife of yours. They see this ex-wife with her new child, and because they didn't separate her from you, they now see that child as yours, even though they are not. They have nothing to do with you, either of them. They are not connected to you. These people are all living in psycho fantasy land, and I'm surprised that you even brought this situation to them, knowing that they have these beliefs. What did you expect? Not to shame you at all. You are not wrong. Not at all. Just saying, I don't know why you thought you'd get a different answer. That boggles my mind. Why did you think that you would get support from people that are against everything that you are doing? Start washing your hands of these people. It's not worth whatever you get out of it, I promise you. And now, onto the update. So some things have happened. My ex-wife somehow got a hold of my fiancé's phone number. She contacted her yesterday and made false accusations that I cheated on her when we met up for coffee. Obviously, my fiancé didn't believe her and just blocked her number. This morning, my sister showed up uninvited to my fiancé's house with her kids, demanding to talk. We don't live together, and I was not there. My fiancé originally wasn't going to let them in, but my sister sat on her porch and refused to leave. It was cold and windy, and the kids didn't have coats on, and since it's not the kids' fault, she ended up giving in. She put on a show for the kids and made some coffee to prepare herself for whatever shit my sister was going to say. My sister started a whole spiel about how if she, my fiancé, really cared about me and not just my money, then she would do what's best for me and leave. My sister claimed that since I'll always be connected to my ex, that I will be forever unhappy if I'm with anyone else. Apparently, if my fiancé doesn't leave me, then it's proof that she's only with me for my money, and that it's obvious that my ex and our child, which, what the hell, it's not my kid, would actually use the money in a godly way. My fiancé laughed in my sister's face and just stared at her until she left. For one, my fiancé and I are both a little bit confused by what she said. 2, I am better off financially than my fiancé, but not by that much. And 3, I am also not religious, so even if I did get back with my ex, me and my money would still not be godly. We know she's crazy, but again, why did she think her plan would do anything? After my sister left, my fiancé called me and told me what happened. I called my sister to tell her, 1, to leave my fiancé alone, and 2, that she was crazy and delusional. She defended herself by saying that she knew what was best for me and was just protecting me from going through with the wedding since my fiancé was obviously taking advantage of me, and that since I'm under her spell, I can't protect myself. I again told her that she was crazy and delusional, and told her that I never wanted to hear from her or anyone who was siding with my ex again, and to please pass that message on. Every time a family member or friend messages me about it, which has been 6 just since this morning, I ask them what their thoughts on the matter are, and if they side with my ex or my sister, then I block them. In the comments, info. Out of curiosity, how many people in your family have you blocked so far? OP says 10, including my sister. This is because I also block the spouses of the person. I've also blocked 2 couples that I'm friends with, not anymore, that I'm not related to. Question: is your sister also a single mum? OP says, no. She's married and has 2 kids with my brother-in-law. I wouldn't say their relationship is the best, though. He had an affair a few years ago, and they worked it out. And I know that over the years, my brother-in-law has gotten more and more fed up with the church stuff. He does have very similar views, it's just not to the same extreme. Info. What race and religion are you, your ex, and your fiancé? I'm curious as to why your family is so pro your ex and anti your fiancé. What does your ex have that your fiancé doesn't, in their eyes? OP says, I'm half Korean, half white European, and agnostic. My ex is white European and Christian. Very specific church, but if I say what it is, it would be fairly easy for anyone to find me and my family. And my fiancé is white European and somewhat agnostic, but does have some fluid spiritual beliefs. My fiancé is also a divorcee. She divorced her ex-husband because he had an affair, and apparently that's not a good enough reason. I know 3 people, including my sister, that have forgiven their spouses for cheating. My fiancé has a very extensive rock collection, hobby, does yoga, easy on the joints, and burns incense. It smells good, and my family have seen a few Facebook posts about witches and thinks that she's one. In their eyes, it means that she's worshipping the devil. That's so much better as to why they think she's a witch. That's so funny. Final update in the comments 1 year later. She's now my wife. I have kept everyone blocked, and although my sister did show up to my house a few times, I threatened legal action and she stopped. My wife and I now live on the opposite side of the country from my family, and we haven't had any issues. The wedding was wonderful. One of the best days of my life. We now live across the country away from my family and haven't had any recent issues with them. Thank you for your kind words. You know what? All's well that ends well in this one. I thought that they'd just go very low contact eventually with that family. I am very surprised to hear that OP just straight up shotgun, bam, bam, bam. Whose side do you take? Oh, you take my sister's side? Blocked. How about you, buddy? You and your spouse, blocked. Get out of my life. That's badass. I love that. I love that, OP. Keep that energy up. Stay away from those dirty, dirty cultists. They don't want what's good for you. You could be assaulted, you could be punched through a wall by your partner, and they'd be like, still not a good enough reason to divorce him. Why are you going against what God wants, OP? God wanted you to be thrown through that wall. This was his plan for you all along. Doesn't he work in mysterious ways? He wanted you to be murdered by your ex. Ah, yes, that was his plan. It's a sad world we live in, but you gotta stay in that divorce. It's what you signed up for, buddy. Oh, bro, if everyone followed that advice, we'd all be dead. Thank God you cut them off, OP. I love that. Stay strong. Thank you for the story. Congratulations on getting married. And keep shining that goddamn shiny spine. Thank you. Our next post is by user Wrong Inspection, and it's titled, Police have informed me that my DNA was connected to the unidentified victim of a historic homicide. So yesterday, I was contacted by the police in a province that I am not from. I'm Canadian, informing me that my DNA has been found to be connected to the victim of a very old cold case in Canada. Not exactly how I thought my day was going to go at all, but very interesting. When speaking with the detective, I was informed of the individual's presumed heritage and which side of my family the link was made from, but the catch: my grandma knew very minimal about her father, and a relative of mine has been working on a family tree for years, but struggled. So here I am, with nothing to go off of, no idea where to begin, and in 24 hours, I've now learned that that entire side of my family was extremely well documented, with multiple records of our entire ancestry tracing all the way back to 1500. Turns out, we've been living with a completely unnecessary mystery all of these years regarding our history. So how far back on this family tree should I be handing over? Who should I include? Any help would be appreciated. Please note that I have taken all proper precautions to ensure that this is legitimate and it truly was the police and not a scammer. In the comments, Substantial Bike says, I had this happen about 5 years ago, also in Canada. It was a cold case homicide detective that contacted me about a case from 15 years before that. They first emailed me through the email address that I had in my profile on GetMatch. It came from their police email account. They gave me their work phone number to call and confirm everything. I spoke for about an hour with a detective and a forensic genealogist that they have on staff. I answered any questions they had. Your DNA will help in building your tree. A newspapers.com subscription can as well. I have one, and I'm happy to help in the search. I gave the police genealogist access to my Ancestry account as a viewer. They were able to get the information that they needed from that. OP replies, same thing happened with me. Email from police, email with an additional officer CC'd, gave me their work number, but I did call the main line from the detachment first to confirm the details. I'm putting this family tree together as we speak on Ancestry, which has thankfully been very quick given all the master files, but this individual was murdered a very, very long time ago. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share the case details, but if I give closer estimation, it will completely give away the case, which makes me unsure of who exactly to include. Substantial Bike replies, I would say don't divulge any details at all in the case. Ancestry is great for tree building. I try to get as much info as I can from trees of other DNA matches. Case in my situations was solved about 2 years after I gave them my info. Admirable Subject says, I do forensic genealogy for cold cases, and we look at public genealogy databases, such as GED.com, for any matches to the suspect DNA. We then trace that match's DNA back to the estimated grandparents, and then the same with each match to triangulate the common ancestor, and then we work forward from there. It's a reverse process than regular genealogy, where you and the names you know and work backwards. OP replies, how can my family tree be of use to the investigation? What can I do as a seemingly random ancestor to be useful? The detective shared with me that the other matches, there weren't many, haven't been willing to help them. But I'd like to give them all I can. Substantial Bike replies, someone on one of the branches of your tree can connect to someone on another tree and another, and before you know it, the right answer pops up. My great-grandfather had a sister, but the family never knew that she was adopted. When I was building our tree, I found her adoption info and biological parents' names and built her tree up from that. Jane Smith's tree might show her grandfather as having 2 siblings, but you've done much more research and found a total of 4 siblings, and now your trees are connected. If a forensic genealogist was just able to see Jane's tree, they might run into a dead end. I don't know what to say with this one, but I found it incredibly interesting that this is now a very modern phenomenon of solving lots of different cold cases, just matching the DNA. And it's part of why I want to cover true crime stories as well. So look out for the Marky True Crime. The channel does actually exist right now. I have one video up that I made ages ago. Information from it was actually from April of last year. It was to do with the Austin Police Department, where there was a bunch of murders at Lady Bird Lake that have still just kept ongoing, and it's a bunch of guys that are like similar in age to me, and that scares me. So I'm sure more has happened, and I'd love to know your feedback on that if you want to go find the channel. I'm not gonna link the channel in the description, but I am gonna make more videos, and this is definitely making me want to make more videos. I do have 4 scripts ready to go. So let me know if you guys like Marky True Crime. Go find it on YouTube. It's out there somewhere. It's only got 7 subscribers. And now, on to the update. I just wanted to update on my original post because I know several people had requested one when an update was available. This case has now been closed, and police made their public announcement yesterday. Many people thought that I was being scammed, and a shocking amount of people guessed correctly with very little information. Through forensic genealogy, the Saskatoon woman in the well was given her name back. Her name is Alice Spence. In the comments, Bizer says, "Wow, incredible. What a gratifying feeling to be able to give this woman her name back. Did you find out her identity before the press release? Have you ever heard of Alice in your family? I'm so sorry for all the questions, but as a hobby genealogist, I find this absolutely fascinating." OP replies, "It truly is amazing. I cried when the officer told me that it was finally solved. I did know. We were, of course, told to keep the details private for the duration of the investigation. I had no idea who she was, and had never heard of her. There were many other people I suspected from my family tree, but her name never came up. This has thrown me deep into a passion for genealogy, and I am so thankful for that. I knew nothing about my family tree prior to this, and I now have an extensive family tree for both sides of my maternal family. Many hours, many sleepless nights, and lots of research." Interesting Desk replies, "As someone with a deep passion for genealogy and a missing person great-grandpa that has kept me up at night for years, this is definitely a hopeful story to me. I'm really glad that you decided to look into your family more. I know you already know, but you never know what you'll find." OP replies, "I can relate to this very much. I initially pursued DNA testing because I don't know who my father is. How crazy that my DNA helped identify a 100-plus-year-old woman before it helped me find my own father. But it gives me hope. I had tested my DNA 3 years before this all began. Let this be a lesson to us all that it is never too late. I'm still not sure who she is to me, but I'm not the woman in the article. Alice was a very distant relative." And Dammit Gravity says, "It's amazing how many bodies and mysteries that can be solved with DNA. Even if we don't figure out how they died, we can at least give them a name. It's cool that this OP ended up helping solve a 100-year-old mystery." Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!